Can you become a tracker? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, this is Jill from the North Woods, talking about learning nature right outside our front doors. Well, outside my front doors, it's wintertime. And you know what we have on the ground? A lot of snow. And snow is perfect for finding movement and tracking down critters that are walking around outside. Summertime, it's a little bit more hidden. Leaves can cover the ground and the grass kind of, hides movement. But if you also live in a very sandy area, it could also work as well. When you have snow on the ground, what it will help you detect is the movement of critters on the ground, the patterns they walk in, and decisions that they made. If you look at any track when you're walking around them, it's a history almost of not watching the animal itself. It'd be nice if you could watch the animal itself. But instead, what you're looking at is evidence. You're going to be a nature detective, and you're observing what the critter did. Did it walk consistently? Did it slow down? Did it stop? Did it change directions? You can start asking yourself questions and reading the ground by walking near tracks that you may see in the snow. Snow is particularly good at this. And it will help us to learn to pay attention a little bit better. I used to watch this TV show about, I think it was like about trackers, people who track criminals, to find out where they went. And it was astonishing how, the twig snapped in this way and the ground was heavyish this way, so the person was running. I mean, it was kind of amazing. But we don't have to be expert trackers to learn a little bit about what's going on outside in the world around us. One of the easiest ways that people kind of make mistakes when they're trying to get into the beginnings of tracking animals is that they try to, when I do this too, name the animal right away. So the first thing is, I think that's a raccoon, or I think that's a rabbit. And instead, it's probably a little bit better if you start asking yourself some questions, because the answers to the questions will help you to identify the animal or the critter that you're tracking. So the idea that you're going to see when you're looking at this is you may see what we would call like a walker animal, right? Deer, foxes, dogs, cats, coyotes, that kind of thing. And their tracks usually form like straight lines or maybe gently curving lines. They're evenly spaced out prints because they're plop, 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 plop walking. And the rear feet are often landing where the front feet were. So sometimes you might even just see 2 tracks as compared to 4 tracks with 4 feet. But what you're getting to see is direction, energy. Animals don't waste energy zigzagging unless they absolutely need to. They often go in very straight lines. They know where they want to go, right? And so you can learn a little bit about it. And you can also see, if you look at snow tracks carefully, which direction the animal was going in. So that's one kind of thing. Was the animal walking or hopping? And what direction was it going in? Hoppers are more things like squirrels and rabbits, and they confuse people oftentimes. The prints are usually larger in the front and smaller in the behind, even though if you look at a rabbit's feet, the feet in the back are bigger. And that's because the animal is using all its pressure to land and springing off of the powerful back legs. Once you kind of learn this pattern, then you'll be able to see it everywhere. You look between trees and under feeders. And my friend Em said that when she had some sort of a board underneath one of her bird feeders, and it freshly snowed, and there were little bird hoppers on them too. But I see them in my yard. I have a lot of rabbits in my yard, and I see a lot of their hopping kind of patterns in my driveway and all sorts of places. So in the wintertime, hopping is how they move, and it helps them move quickly to avoid predators too. So you might see them speed up if they become particularly afraid. Then there's something that they call bounders, and bounders are more like weasels and minks and otters, and their tracks appear kind of in clusters, close together, and almost, bunched up. They have long bodies with short little legs, and so it makes their bounding much more efficient. And you will see them travel in groups because the animals that live, close to the ground will use the cover of the ground. They will travel together in groups sometimes, and they tend to use like the snow as cover as much as they possibly can. When you see birds, that's going to be the other ones. They're charming and they're beautiful. And like I said, my friend Em, she saw their little Y-shaped footprints in the snow, hopping patterns. But then it'll be like out of nowhere, hop, 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 out of nowhere. So they will suddenly fly where they launched into the ground. Then you might even see some bird wing marks in the snow or on the ground where the bird took off. So there might even be a little bit of a tail drag, particularly if the bird has a longer trail, and sometimes that will show in that form. Birds can also oftentimes be a little zigzaggy because they're looking for seed. And so they are going from seed to seed to seed instead of a straight line. Then they do. Under the bird feeders, you can see that sparrows like to hop and doves will waddle. Crows stride confidently because not many things tag out crows. And you can sometimes tell a little bit more information about it. You'll be able to look at the tracks. You'll be able to tell how they passed by. Look, like I said, for direction. Which direction were they going? Was it towards cover? Was it towards food? How about the speed? The longer the gaps often mean that there is running or bounding instead of closer together. Maybe it was just strolling. Wandering tracks often suggest also foraging, while straight line tracks suggest traveling from one destination to another. And then type loops are searching. It smells something. I remember a while ago I had chucked out some fruit that I had that was kind of a little too long in the refrigerator, and you could see in the snow the animals were looking for that fruit that I chucked out the back deck. Animals, like I said, particularly in wintertime, are very careful with their energy, and so those tracks will show you what it is the animal was trying to accomplish when they were going out. And another question to ask yourself is how old are these tracks? And if it is snowing, if it is a place where it has snow, you can kind of estimate the age by noticing a few things. Sharp, crisp edges means it's fresh, brand new. The critter was just here. As it gets older, the edges get rounded and softened. You might even see a snow fill in. So we had a couple of days of snow here. So there was an initial snow and then a gap, and then it snowed a little bit more. So maybe you might find a track in your yard that is half filled with snow. That means it was created before, maybe during that first snowstorm, and then it filled in with a little bit of snow. If the snow tracks are blown, that might mean that a big wind came after that time and started whiffing off the snow. Or if you see melted rims of the track, it had some sun exposure, and so the sun was starting to melt the tracks just a little bit. So again, you're not looking for necessarily who it is, but what happened. Now with these kinds of ways of looking at the snow, you can see when it happened. When did this go into effect? And nature moves on its own schedules. I was out, believe it or not, it was 5 degrees today, and Em and I went out to go look at birds, eagles. We found snow buntings and horned larks. And it was very sparse, though. It was so bitterly cold out today, not much was out there because not much else or much can survive in these kind of brutal days that we had today. So you'll see animals go out during particular times. Maybe when the weather was a little warmer, you'll see like mice and rodents and voles. They go into a dormancy. But if it gets to be kind of a balmy day, they might come up and run some tracks in your yard and then go back in their dens and you won't see them for a couple of days. So you can start getting the idea, when did this track happen? Now, if you were trying to look for tracks, the best part is you don't even need to go to a park or a national park. You can see it along driveways, sidewalks, near shrubs and brushes, along fences. A lot of animals like to travel across fences or down the line, or beneath bird feeders. These are now new corridors for them to follow. They follow edges because they're safer. They follow where there's protection on one side because it gives them cover. And so sometimes, again, the most interesting things you can discover might be in your own backyard or in along the sidewalk or the driveway. So when we live, in the northern climates, and like I said, this could potentially be in sand as well. The snow gives us this quick chance to look at a hidden world below us. We can slow down a bit, and teach us to really look at the tracks. Remind us, too, that winter is not just this empty, barren thing. Looking at the tracks when they're there right then, the tracks are going to be gone. Maybe gone tomorrow, maybe gone in the next wind or the next ray of sunshine or the next snow. And you get a chance to look at a new layout almost every time it snows. And so that's what's really important. We have to pay attention. We have to be careful and look very carefully. And then, I think once you have answered a lot of these questions about when did this happen, what direction were they going, how fast were they running, it might help you also identify what kind of creature it is. There are a number of really good books out there on tracks, animal tracks, and it will teach you a little bit about what kind of tracks you're seeing. At some point, I got this book, and it's really kind of good. I think it's Tracks and Scat. So it's all about animal tracks and animal poop, so to help you identify animals that you're seeing in your backyard. It's a really good book, and it'll help you identify. So if you're really interested in doing this, you can learn a lot more and start being able to read kind of your backyard a little bit better. We see some interesting tracks. And like I said, you go out and you say, well, wait a minute, is that a dog? No, that can't be a dog because, and then you'll start getting better and better at it. And you get to know a little bit more about the story of what's going on. So the next time you have a snowstorm or a light snow, go out and check some of the tracks that are going through your sidewalks, your driveways, your front yard, your backyard, and see if you can't maybe if you can't even identify the animal, just try to see what was going on in that animal's mind while they were walking through your yard. All right, everyone, thanks so much. Appreciate you being out there. Remember, you can email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com, and you can put a comment right here. Did you find anything cool the last time it snowed? Or maybe you live in a sandy area where you have animal tracks in the sand. Love to hear about it. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.